Chris Lemons, Duncan Alcock, and David Yuasa are members of a team of saturation divers who work to maintain undersea gas lines in the North Sea. While on rotation, they and their fellow divers live on board a vessel in pressurized chambers which simulate conditions similar to those found approximately 300 feet below sea level, the depth at which the divers work. The divers are transported to and from this chamber by a specialized diving bell, which is lowered to depth from the ship and allows the divers to remain at pressure for the entirety of their 4-week work rotation. During a deployment, Lemons and Yuasa exit the bell to begin work on an undersea gas line manifold, while Alcock remains stationed in the bell to monitor their status and distribute the umbilical lines that supply them with communication, power, and oxygen. Lemons and Yuasa head to the manifold to start their work, but their ship's dynamic positioning system, DPS, malfunctions, causing the ship to drift away from the work site. The bell with Alcock inside is dragged along, and Lemons and Yuasa rush to climb to the top of the manifold so they won't be obstructed when they are also pulled. Yuasa successfully climbs up, but Lemons' umbilical line gets caught in the manifold structure. Yuasa realizes that Lemons' umbilical will break soon and tells him to switch to his emergency air supply, which will give him 10 minutes of oxygen. He assures Lemons that he will come back for him, but he needs to be on top of the manifold so Yuasa can find him. Shortly after, the umbilical cord breaks, leaving Lemons stranded with only his emergency air supply and unable to communicate as Yuasa is pulled away by the bell still attached to the ship. Meanwhile, the crew on the ship's bridge try to find a solution to the DPS malfunction. They cannot drop anchor due to the risk of causing a gas line rupture and causing an environmental disaster. With no other options, the captain and first mate manually operate the ship's thrusters to prevent it from drifting further away while a third crew member works to bypass the DPS reboot process. Yuasa eventually reaches the bell and reunites with Alcock. On the bridge, another crew member locates Lemons using an ROV and sees that he is still alive but unconscious and suffering from oxygen deprivation. He tries to save Lemons with the ROV, but can't lift him because Lemons tied himself to the manifold to avoid being lifted by the tide. The crew fixes the DPS and quickly heads to the work site. Yuasa goes back down with the bell and rescues Lemons, who had run out of oxygen 29 minutes earlier. Alcock brings Lemons onto the bell and performs mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, after which Lemons starts breathing again. Yuasa goes back into the bell and both divers try to communicate with Lemons, who doesn't respond and seems to have brain damage from lack of oxygen. Just as they start to think they were too late, Lemons starts speaking and responding normally, so the bell goes back to the ship. The rotation is stopped and Lemons recovers in the saturation chamber during the trip home. Back at port, he parts ways with Alcock and Yuasa before journeying home and reuniting with his fiancée, revealing to her what happened. In an epilogue, the audience is told that Lemons suffered no lasting mental or physical impairment as a result of the incident, with experts unable to explain the reasons for his survival. Lemons, Yuasa, and Alcock returned to work 3 weeks later to finish the job they started.